Something that was really fascinating to me back in neuroscience and psychology was the idea that we have the self-referential ability. We have the ability for self-awareness. And so the classic test for that is like a mirror test, right? So a child at a young age will see themselves in the mirror, not another being, and they can start making faces and that kind of thing. As soon as you have the ability to reference yourself, as soon as you're separate from the universe, you have a present, you have a past, you have a future. That then builds a narrative of where I'm going today and where I came from and what I am and who I am and what I'm about. And so I think that story so much comes out of that self-referential ability to separate ourselves from the universe and then need a way to connect back to it. Right, of how do I connect to other people and other things and make sense of the world. It's like the fabric of society and community and connection and communication.
I feel like we can tell a much better story when we're connected to that story in some way. When you ask about how we go about choosing stories we want to tell, that's a big part of it. That if we genuinely care and want to make the story known, then we can do a much better job at it than if we were to pick a story that we didn't really care for.
There's this amazing study that was done about the scientific background to story, and it looked at what neurotransmitters are activated in the brain. And so they had a bunch of people watch a story, and they found that the two main neurotransmitters were oxytocin and cortisol, which correlate to empathy and stress, right? And it's amazing because you look at stress is conflict, which is a cornerstone of journey and story. And you look at empathy, which is connection, and how and why we use story. If you look at it from a scientific background, so much of story is about connection and conflict. But I think that it's really fascinating that you can look at it from, we talk about it philosophically and like process and structure, yet it boils down to a chemical basis in the exact same formula that we're looking at. I can tell you that when we first started teaching and collaborating, we got a lot of questions about why we were doing that. That like, don't you need to keep your cards close to you, and aren't you worried about sharing things? And I think that those that collaborate realize that you gain much more by giving than you do by trying to hold everything into yourself. And I think that there's certainly that shyness, that concern that I'm going to give away what makes me uniquely different. But I think that is more ignorance than anything else, that when we really realize that what makes us different is our perspective, and no amount of collaboration is going to allow anybody else to take that, but how much more we can all gain by collaboration, that people really start to open up. That collaboration would push them further than not sharing that information there. It's a part of the evolution of the industry that we're in, where we're seeing that paradigm shift. That this larger consciousness that we are all on the same team, that we are going to make this craft better when we do it together, and we don't see ourselves as islands and individuals in competition.
I think when you're first starting out, there's nothing more important than just getting out there and doing it. Gear being more accessible and having the education that's available in our industry now, and having, the internet. I think it's more about finding a way for you to connect with the story and finding your own perspective to tell it is really, I think, a good way to work around that.
The idea that, you make films for the mailman, that like you're trying to make a wedding film that is not just interested in the bride and groom, is about collaboration in the sense of being able to go to somebody randomly and say, check this out, do you find this interesting? And I think it's when we have that courage and that belief in our own ability as storytellers, or where we want to go, that even though I know that this isn't strong enough yet, and it's not where I will be in 5 years, I'm still going to sit you down and go, will you watch this for a couple minutes and let me know what you think? Just give me some constructive feedback. I think so often we're scared that we like put ourselves back in that little shell and like, I don't want to show anybody. But yeah, when you share it, when you open yourself up for that, it makes you an infinitely better storyteller, and you will progress at an exponential rate. I think that it's a perfect time to celebrate and bring collaboration to a larger number of people, because what we quickly see is that we gain so much more than any small thing that we've ever lost.
Get out there and do it.